So as per the demographic conditions, that is we can say that is an study of the societal characteristics and statistics of the human population in India, which was carried out in 1881 in 1921. During those periods, there was no huge increase on population was observed, but uh, the great but the year 1921 is described as the year of the great divide, because it is because after 1921 the population grew continuously and rapidly. So after 1921 the population rate or increase of the population rate was increased tremendously. So that's why the year 1921 is described as a year of a great divide, we can say. In the divide in the sense, the divide in the sense of the genders and all those things, or structure, we can say, social characteristics and the statistics of the human population. Okay. Then the demographic condition were as under, okay, at that time the overall literacy level was less than 16%. Just a minute, so the overall literacy level was less than 16%. Means out of 100 people we will consider, less than 16 people were educated one. That is the condition. Female literacy was about 7%. ओके. म्हणजे महिलांमधलं जे शिक्षणाचं जे प्रमाण आपण बघितलं शिक्षणाचं, तर ते 7% किंवा त्याच्यापेक्षा कमी होतं. ओव्हरऑल मॉर्टॅलिटी रेट वॉज हाय. ओके. Moderate rate was 218 per thousand. Present rate is a 44 per thousand. So moderate is nothing but the death rate we can say. Okay, so death rate was so high that is about 218 per thousand, and now we have that mortality rate of only 44 per 1000. It means that during colonial days they have ruled us like anything. They have not allowed us to grow from any of the angle. They demolished us like anything. They not only demolished our industrial sector, but from other point of view also, that is the education sector, etc., etc. They started, what we can say, compressing us like anything. So due to which our literacy rate was so less, and as there was a huge scarcity of the food grains, the mortality rate was so high. It was about 218 per thousand, म्हणजे 1000च्या मागे 218 लोक मरत होते. हा खूप मोठा आकडा झाला. सध्याला आपल्याकडे तो 1000च्या पाठीमागे फक्त 44 आहेत, तरी सुद्धा आपण म्हणतो की डेथ रेट खूप जास्त आहे. मग त्यावेळच्या कंडिशनला 218 1000च्या पाठीमागे डेथ रेट म्हणजे तो किती असेल? वी कांट इमॅजिन ऑल्सो. सो द लाईफ एक्सपेक्टन्सी वॉज ऑल्सो व्हेरी लो, 32 इयर्स. म्हणजे त्यावेळेचं आपण जे आयुष्य म्हणतो, इंग्रजांच्या काळामधलं ते अवरेज आयुष्य जे होतं ते फक्त 32 वर्षाचं होतं. कारण जन्मल्यापासून किंवा आपण म्हणू की तो त्या मुलाला काही समजायला लागल्यापासून त्याला ते कामच करावं लागायचं. ओके, म्हणजे आपण जसं म्हणतो की लहान मुलांना सध्याला आपण काम करू देत नाही, आपल्याकडे लॉ तयार झालेला आहे, बरोबर आहे का? पण त्यावेळेस कसं होतं की इंग्रजांचा मोठो काय होता, ब्रिटिशांचा, की त्यांच्या इंडस्ट्रीमध्ये काम करायला पाहिजे किंवा त्यांच्यासाठी काम करायला पाहिजे, म्हणजे सगळं प्रोडक्शन आपण रॉ मटेरियल तयार करून द्यायला पाहिजे. त्याच्यामुळे कसं व्हायचं की देर वॉज नो चान्स टू हॅव अ डेव्हलपमेंट ऑफ द बॉडी ऑल्सो. ओके, सो ड्यू टू विच द average rate or expected life we can say was a very low, about 32 years. Presently we used to talk about 68 years. तुम्ही म्हणाल की काही लोक 100 वर्ष 1.5 वर्ष जगत होती, पण त्यावेळेस कसं होतं की त्यावेळच्या कंडिशन मध्ये त्यांच्या एरियामध्ये किंवा त्या सेक्टरमध्ये एवढं कॉलोनियल हे नव्हतं, म्हणजे फैलावलेलं नव्हतं. They were having some of the freedoms for those peoples only. That was the scenario. But if you talk about a whole nation as India which was ruled by the Britishers, then we used to say that the expected life was very less, about 32 years. Presently it is 68 years. Then extensive poverty was present. गरिबीचं प्रमाण जे म्हणतो आपण, ते गरिबीचं प्रमाण हे खूप मोठं होतं. म्हणजे कुठेतरी एखादा श्रीमंत, म्हणजे श्रीमंत म्हणजे कोण असणार, तर तो जो काही सारा तयार कलेक्ट करणारा जो व्यक्ती असणार प्रत्येक गावातला, अशी वेगवेगळी पद्धतीने दिलेली होती. ओके, म्हणजे प्रत्येक गावाला वाटून दिलेली होती. तोच फक्त पर्सन म्हणजे तो थोड्याफार प्रमाणामध्ये त्याच्याकडे काहीतरी असं म्हणजे प्रॉपर्टी असणार. प्रॉपर्टी इन द सेन्स फूड ग्रेन्स अँड अदर थिंग्स वी कॅन. बट looking towards the whole nation, the poverty was so high, it is extensive we can say. अतिशय मोठ्या प्रमाणामध्ये गरिबी होती. Public health facilities were either unavailable to large chunks of the population or were highly inadequate when available. एक तर दवाखाने किंवा डॉक्टर्स ह्या गोष्टी नव्हत्याच, आणि जरी असल्या तरी त्या एवढ्या मोठ्या लोकसंख्येला कुठेतरी तालुका पातळीवरती कुठे मोठ्या लोकसंख्ये ठिकाणी कुठेतरी एखादा हॉस्पिटल असतं. मग अशा केसमध्ये कसं व्हायचं की सर्वांना ट्रीटमेंट करणं हे अतिशय डिफिकल्ट व्हायचं. आता हे असं का झालं, का बरं कमी असेल, कमतरता असेल? कारण त्यांनी आपल्यातल्या लोकांना एज्युकेट होऊच दिलं नाही. आज we were unable to get an education, we were not having that much knowledge about the health, or we can say the medical education. So that's why the public health facilities were either unavailable, or if they are available, then they were inadequate. Okay, water and airborne diseases were rampant we can say. साथीचे रोग जे आपण म्हणतो की खूप मोठ्या प्रमाणामध्ये साथीचे रोग पसरायचे, म्हणजे पाण्यामार्फत आणि हवेमार्फत जे होणारे साथीचे रोग होते, तसं आपण म्हणतो की कोरोना. कोरोना हा आपण असं म्हणू शकतो की त्यावेळच्या साथीच्या रोगांच्या पुढे कोरोना काहीच नाहीये. कारण त्यावेळेस तुम्ही मे बी यू हॅव हर्ड अबाउट द प्लेग अँड ऑल दोज थिंग्स. असं म्हटलं जातं की त्यावेळेस इतक्या मोठ्या प्रमाणामध्ये असे डिसिजेस असायचे की म्हणजे आणखी सुद्धा सांगतात काही आपले जर का तुमचे पंजोबा वगैरे असतील तर ते सांगतात की त्यावेळच्या काळामध्ये म्हणजे त्यांना थोडं वाटत असेल तर सांगतात की बैलगाडी भरून असे लोक असे म्हणजे मृतदेह घेऊन जायचे ते एवढ्या मोठ्या प्रमाणामध्ये असे साथीचे रोग पसरत होते because there was no facilities, medical facilities, public health facilities were not were there. So that's why the spreading and death rate due to such water and airborne diseases were so high. Okay. Then, as far as the occupational structure is considered, the occupational structure in the sense what we used to say that हा डॉक्टर आहे तो इंजिनियर आहे म्हणजे उच्च वर्गीय मध्यमवर्गीय आणि कमी वर्गीय असं आपण म्हणू शकतो ऑक्युपेशनच्या प्रमाणे फार्मर असेल industrialists असेल likewise we can say that the occupational structure is a primary secondary and a tertiary. By occupational structure we mean the distribution of working persons across the different industries and sectors. During the colonial period, the occupational structure of the India showed a little sign of a change. कुठेतरी थोड्याफार प्रमाणामध्ये कुठेतरी आपल्याला तो बदल झालेला दिसायचा. The largest share of the workforce, that is a 70 to 75%, was in the agriculture sector. म्हणजे त्यावेळेचं ऑक्युपेशन जर का बघितलं आपण तर शेतकऱ्यांचा जो वर्ग जो होता म्हणजे बाय ऑक्युपेशन जे शेतकरी जे होते ज्यांचा व्यवसाय हा शेती होता ते जवळजवळ 70 ते 75% पॉप्युलेशन आपली ही अंडर फार्मिंग सेक्टर होती जे आणि तो होणारा जो बदल होता म्हणजे शेतकऱ्याचा कोणी व्यावसायिक झाला किंवा शेतकऱ्याचा कोणी एखादा म्हणजे मुलगा असेल किंवा मुलगी असेल ते कुठेतरी मेडिकल सेक्टरमध्ये किंवा दुसऱ्या सेक्टरमध्ये गेले हा रेट चेंज होण्याचा अतिशय लहान होता सो स्मॉल रेट वॉज दॅट and about 70 to 75% of the structure of the population by the occupation was in farmers in agriculture sector. The manufacturing sector accounted for 10% and the services sector up to 15 to 20% respectively. So manufacturing sector means the industries we can say here in those were about only a 10%, whereas the service sectors those are only about the 15 to 20%. They we can say that where the Britain's people look about Britishers might be they were having about the 70 to 75% occupation as a manufacturers, service sectors, we can say. But it was not the scenario in the India. No doubt that though we were saying that those were the condition, but we used to say that the agriculture is the backbone of Indian economy. But they have broken that backbone, we can say. आपण असं म्हणू शकतो कारण का तसं म्हणू शकतो आपण ते बॅकबोन का मोडलं म्हणू शकतो बिकॉज दे हॅव नॉट प्रोव्हाइडेड एनी सॉर्ट ऑफ दी help for the growth of the agriculture sector. That is the scenario. The regional disparities were also an important feature. Regional म्हणजे आपण म्हणतो की प्रत्येक ठिकाणाप्रमाणे regional disparities were so high. So that रिजनल डिसेप्लिन आपण असं म्हणू शकतो असमानता जी होती ते म्हणजे की अतिशय महत्वाचा मुद्दा त्यावेळेचा होता there was a decline in the dependence of the workforce on the agriculture sector in parts of the then Madras presidency. It is the president's present day. It is a Tamil Nadu, Andhra Pradesh, Kerala, and a Karnataka. So the regional disparities were also an important feature. That is nothing but the disparities in the different regions. आपण म्हणतो की प्रदेश वाईज मग ते तुमचं पर कॅपिटा इन्कम असेल, हेल्थ असेल, एज्युकेशन असेल, लिटरसी असेल, इतर सर्व्हिसेस असतील, इंडस्ट्रियलायझेशन असेल, इन्फ्रास्ट्रक्चर फॅसिलिटीज असतील, ह्या सर्व ज्या गोष्टी जर का आपण विचार केला त्यावेळेचा, तर वेगवेगळ्या प्रदेशामध्ये ह्याचं प्रमाण वेगवेगळं मोठ्या प्रमाणामध्ये डायव्हर्सिफिकेशन होतं. दॅट इज द थिंग. Then we discussed about this one. There was a decline in the dependence of the workforce on the agriculture sector. त्यावेळेस जे काही लोकांचं म्हणजे आपण म्हणतो की बाबा की जो प्रमुख व्यवसाय हा शेती होता तो कमी हळूहळू कमी व्हायला होता. There was a decline in the dependence of the workforce on the agriculture sector in the parts of the Madras, म्हणजे आपण सध्याला जे म्हणतो तामिळनाडू, आंध्र प्रदेश, केरळ आणि कर्नाटका, महाराष्ट्र अँड वेस्ट बंगाल and increase in the manufacturing and the service sectors. म्हणजे या क्षेत्रामध्ये कुठं कुठं महाराष्ट्र, वेस्ट बंगाल, तमिळनाडू, कर्नाटका, केरळ, in those sectors, in those regions we can say the dependence of the people or the group of the people on the agriculture sector was got reduced and to some extent, and the service sector in manufacturing and service sector was started booming in that era, in that regions we can say, in that era. There was an increase in the share of the workforce in the agriculture in the states such as Orissa, Rajasthan, and Punjab. At the same time, sorry, the dependency of the people or the people working in agriculture got increased in the states as of Orissa, Rajasthan, and Punjab. So Punjab, maybe we can say that the whatever the terrain they used that they used to have, they used to have a huge quantity of the water, networking of the irrigation canals and all those things. Though they were not there, but at that time due to the rainfall, there was a sufficient amount of the water was available, due to which the people moved towards the agriculture in those regions. Okay. Then this is the scenario I would like to show firstly. Infrastructure. So talking about the infrastructure, the roads, here we are finding the roads, then harbors and docks, aeroplanes, here we are finding railways. Okay. Then this is another thing we have shown over here and all those things. So this is about an infrastructure, how they have developed. We will discuss now regarding the infrastructure, how was that in the year of the independence and all those things. So those are the pics. They are indicating that what was the scenario and what was the infrastructure regarding the various sectors. Okay. Under the colonial rule, the basic infrastructure such as the roads, railways, ports, water transport posts, and a telegraph, post and telegraph, etc. were developed. म्हणजे त्या काळामध्ये आपण असं म्हणणार नाही की ब्रिटिशांनी ते आपल्यासाठी चांगलं केलं. आपण ब्रिटिशांनी का केलं रेल्वे वगैरे, because they wanted to transport a huge quantity of the goods at a time from one place to the another place. That's why they have developed the railways. But now those railways were getting benefited by that for our Indian economy. Then not only the railways, but they also provided the developed the water transport. Okay. Then they started the post and telegraph. आपण म्हणतो की postman and telegram आला म्हणतो आपण त्या पद्धतीने. Roads they have developed. Such basic infrastructure they developed, but this development was not to provide basic amenities to the people of the country, but to subserve the colonial interests. म्हणजे जसं मी म्हटलं की रेल्वे त्यांनी तयार केली, परंतु रेल्वे ही आपल्यासाठी नाही तयार केली. त्याचा मोटो काय होता, तर जे रॉ मटेरियल त्यांना घ्यायचं होतं, ट्रान्सपोर्ट करायचं होतं, that raw material will be get transported by a huge quantity from one place to the another place within a short interval of time. So for that purpose they have developed the basic infrastructure. Okay. And that is in the interest of their own only. The roads were built for mobilizing the army within India and for drawing out raw materials from the countryside to the nearest railway station or the port to send these to England or other foreign lands. त्यांनी काय केलं, रोड जे तयार केले ते कशासाठी केले, आर्मी जी त्यांची होती किंवा त्यांची जी फोर्स होती टू मूव्ह टू हॅव अन अ मुवमेंट ऑफ देम, त्यांची आपल्याला एका प्लेस पासून दुसऱ्या प्लेस पर्यंत सहजासहजी आपल्याला मुवमेंट करता यावी. जे काही रॉ मटेरियल आहे ते रॉ मटेरियल आपल्याला एका प्लेस पासून दुसरीकडे नेता यावं त्यासाठी रोड तयार केले. त्यानंतर त्यांनी waterways, ports वगैरे का तयार केले म्हणजे ports and harbors, so that a huge quantity of the amount of the raw material can be transported by the ways of the oceans on the seas to the their land, it is a foreign land. For that purpose they developed. Okay, then again the application of the roadway is to transfer the raw material from the particular location to the railway stations, and from the railway stations to the nearest to their locator we can say, and from that they had facilities to transport to their nation. The railways helped in commercialization of the Indian agriculture, which adversely affected the comparative self-sufficiency of the village economy in the India. रेल्वेमुळे काय झालं की कमर्शियलायझेशनला खूप मदत झाली त्यांच्या दृष्टिकोनात. त्याच्यामुळे काय झालं की जे आपली खेडेगावातले किंवा जे खेडे जे होते, खेडेगाव जी होती त्यांची जी इकॉनॉमिक कंडिशन होती ती पूर्णपणे म्हणजे काय झालं की लँड ऍक्विजिशन झालं, ह्या सगळ्या गोष्टी झाल्या, तयार झालेलं मटेरियल डिरेक्टली ते त्याच्यातून घेऊन चालले. सो दॅट्स वाय वी यूज्ड टू कॅन से the introduction of the expensive system of electric telegraph in India similarly served the purpose of maintaining the law and order. म्हणजे आपण म्हणतो की पूर्वी तार आली म्हणायचे, म्हणजे तार संदेश म्हणजे काय असायचं की फास्ट तो रिस्पॉन्स एका ठिकाणी दुसऱ्या ठिकाणी जायचा. नंतर मोबाईल आले, नेट आलं, ह्या सगळ्या गोष्टी आहेत आपल्याला लगेच विदिन सेकंड वी टू गेट द थिंग्स व्हॉट एव्हर हॅपनिंग इन द वर्ल्ड. We used to get the what is happening now in the Russia and Ukraine, but that was not the case in those days. So transportation of the transformation of the information from one place to another place was the critical task. So for the transformation of the information, or the what we can say some guidelines we can say, the orders we can say, they introduced the electric telegraph in India, and it helped them to have a proper communication and maintaining the laws and order in India in a colonial government. Okay. This is the sectors we can say how they grew, and this is the telegram we can say from here they used to send all those things. This is the armed force. These are the roads. Those were used for the armed force to have in their mobilization. That is a movement. And this is the application of the roads, which is made for the transportation of the goods. And here we can say that those are our Indian peoples. Those are pulling that bullock cart. So that which they did accrued things for us. Then this is regarding the ports and the harbors where the whole material is getting dumped. This is a railway, we can say. This is a railway station. And here you're finding that coal is there. Okay, coal is there. Then that may be the bonies of the cotton, jute, etc. as a raw material. So huge amount of the raw material we are finding here nearby the station, and it is getting transported over here by these roads. And from these roads, those railways, now it is nearby this ocean sea. So it means that there is the dock and harbor, and from the dock and harbor, the huge amount of that raw material will be get transported by the means of the ships to their nation or to their land. So this is the mind of them behind the establishment of this basic infrastructure as the roads, railways, then communication facilities. This is the communication facilities, the telegram they are sending from one place to another place, so that the orders and all those things, those will be get maintained. That is what is happening and what to do and how to do and how to act. So to have that, they have introduced the electronic telegram. This is about the industrial sector, we can say. Effects of the railways now. The British introduced the railways in India in 1850. It is considered one of the most important contributions from the Britishers. But it is a contribution for the nation India in the form of the betterment of the Britishers. How come? Because the railway has given a platform to them to transport a huge amount of the material, to drain the Indian economy like anything. Okay, so huge amount of the material will be transported from one place to another place, which was not possible at a time to have transportation previously. But it affected the structure of the Indian railways in a many ways. How? It enabled the people to undertake a long distance travel and thereby break geographical and cultural barriers. सगळ्या गोष्टी त्यांनी ब्रेक करत गेले. कशा पद्धतीने अंडरटेक अ लॉंग डिस्टन्स ट्रॅव्हल म्हणजे खूप लांब पल्ल्याच्या रेल्वे ट्रॅक तयार केली. त्याच्यामुळे काय झालं, जिओग्राफिकल स्ट्रक्चर जे होते म्हणजे आपले काय असेल, माउंटेन असेल, हिल असेल, ते हा ब्रोकन आहे. कल्चरल बॅरियर्स करणं म्हणजे काय, ज्या गोष्टी होत्या त्या घडत गेल्या नाहीयेत. इट हेल्प्ड इन इंटिग्रेटिंग द नेशन. देश एकत्रित करण्यात आला. काही फायदे होते, काही तोटे होते. इट fostered commercialization of Indian agriculture, which adversely affected the self-sufficiency of the village economies in India. Because whatever the raw material, that is the food waste, were getting produced by the farmers in their fields, now they are getting transported easily towards them. Okay. Then in that case, it directly they were taken, and those materials were not utilized, not got utilized, or not got the chance to those farmers to utilize for their betterment. It means whatever the manufacture, that has been taken away by them. The volume of the India's export trade undoubtedly expanded, that we had seen in the previous part. It provided the employment opportunities to the people. No doubt that it has helped for the employment, but as compared to the demolishing, as compared to the, not the demolition we can say, as compared to the drawbacks, that opportunity of the employment we can't consider over here, but it has there. They have provided the opportunities by having railways over there. The scenario, that is a transportation of the people from one place to another place. How the cultural barrier and all those things, we can say that now in the Mumbai, Delhi, Chennai, Bengaluru, etc., there is a mega cities. The people are coming from the corners of the, not only our Indian nation, but from the world, we can say, and they used to survive therein. Okay, so likewise we can say that there is a huge transportation of the people, or the movement of the people from the place to the another place. They started a migration, we can say. See how they are moving by the trains to the railways. Then we'll see now the positive contribution of the railways and the negative impact during the independence, or the challenges, we can say, by the, not only railways, but the colonial government, we can say. They introduced the railway system. In the railway system only positive contribution होता. Negative काय होतं, per capita income was low, so low. They developed the modern system of the communication, that is the electronic telegraph. Large scale unemployment and underemployment was resulted. कारण त्यावेळी एक जर का संदेश एका ठिकाणाहून दुसऱ्या ठिकाणी न्यायचा असेल, तर त्या केसमध्ये काय लागणारी का संख्या असेल पीपलची, म्हणजे दोघं तिघ जण जात असतील, 2 to 3 persons. Now due to the electron telegraph, it has been got reduced. Only directly one person we can go for there. The modern banking system was established by the Britishers. They formed the Imperial Bank of India. So first bank, we can say, the Britishers have formed Imperial Bank of India till the establishment of a Reserve Bank of India, which was formed in 1935. So the question will be made like this: that which is the bank that Britishers have developed firstly? That is the Imperial Bank of India, which was previously before the Reserve Bank of India. The Imperial Bank served as the government's banker and also managed its public department. So that bank helped to that colonial government and their various public departments. But the negative impacts, we can say, during the independence, or the challenges, we can say, that is the industrial sector was carrying for a modernization, diversification, capacity building, and public investment. There was no capital goods industry. आपल्याकडे जरी म्हटलं आपण की बँकिंग सेक्टर त्यांनी डेव्हलप केलं, पण आपल्या पुढे चॅलेंज काय होतं की त्या बँकेचा फायदा कसा घ्यायचा. आपल्याकडे मॉडर्नायझेशन करण्यासाठी इंडस्ट्रीच्या आपल्याकडे तशा इन्स्ट्रुमेंट नव्हते. We were not having those instruments to have a modernization of industry. There's a huge diversification of the industries, we can say. Capacity building and public investment. कॅपॅसिटी आपल्याला एनलार्ज करता येत नव्हते, पुढे चॅलेंज होत होते. पब्लिक तिकडच त्या सेक्टरकडे वळवणं ते खूप मोठं चॅलेंज होतं. So there was no capital good industries, though they have developed, they come up with an banking sector. Then they developed the irrigation works. They developed the irrigation works, which created a new grain and cotton producing regions. त्याच्यामुळे काय झालं, इरिगेशन सेक्टर त्यांनी तयार केलं, पाणलोट क्षेत्र त्यांनी डेव्हलप केलं. त्याच्यामुळे काय झालं की शेतीमधलं कापसाची जे शेतीचा एरिया होता तो वाढला गेला. पण आपल्या पुढे चॅलेंज काय होतं, ऍग्रिकल्चर सेक्टर वॉज सॅडल्ड विथ सरप्लस लेबर अँड एक्स्ट्रीमली लो प्रोडक्टिव्हिटी. कारण काय झालं होतं की जरी त्याने आपण म्हटलं की दो दे हॅव डेव्हलप्ड दॅट irrigation facilities, but our agriculture was not able to adapt that. Our agriculture sector was not able to adapt that because whatever the production rate was there, it was so less. It was with a surplus of the labors and extremely low productivity. That was the condition. Though we are having the irrigation facilities, but we were having those challenges for that. Then political and unification of the country. त्यांनी काय केलं, नंतर आपल्याकडे राजकारण आणलं. ओके, ह्या गोष्टी त्यांनी आणल्या आपल्याकडे. परंतु आपल्याकडे चॅलेंज काय होतं की मास इलिटरसी होती. वी आर हॅव्हिंग अ मास इलिटरसी, म्हणजे आपल्याकडे तेवढा सुशिक्षित वर्ग नव्हता. त्याच्यामुळे प्रॉब्लेम काय झाला की आपण जरी त्यांनी ते तयार केलेल्या असल्या गोष्टी, तो चेंज आला असला तरी सुद्धा आपण त्याचा वापर करू शकत नव्हतो. म्हणजे जरी आपण म्हटलं की एकत्रीकरण करण्याचा प्रयत्न केला, त्यांनी युनिफिकेशन ऑफ द कंट्री, एकत्रित करण्याचा प्रयत्न जरी झाला सामाजिक दृष्ट्या किंवा राजकीय दृष्ट्या, परंतु एवढी आपल्याकडे इलिटरसी होती, म्हणजे एवढं अज्ञान होतं की त्याच्यामुळे वी वेर अनेबल, वी कॅन से दॅट इज द मेजर चॅलेंज बिफोर अस, दॅट इज टू गेट युनाइटेड, फॉर गेटिंग युनाइटेड. So those are the positive contributions we can say, but on the other hand, we were having so much challenges also, okay, during the independence. So conclusions we can draw from this thing that after finishing the chapter, we will be our students will be able to and a social and economic challenge before the countries were enormous. Students are able to know, or students will come to know that the challenges of the economy were enormous, okay, in the view of the independence. Okay, this is about the first part of the our unit. Okay, now we'll move towards the second part of our unit. Okay, it is the 5th, 11th policy, etc., etc. Those things will start now. Just a minute. Just now the next part of our syllabus, that is unit number 1, is the 11th 5-year plan, म्हणजे 11वा पंचवार्षिक प्लान जो आपण म्हणतो त्याला. That is one. That was for the 2007 to 2012, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 and 12, म्हणजे 2007 ते 2012 या ड्युरेशन मधला जो आपला 11th 5-year प्लान होता तो कोणी आणला, त्याचे सायलेंट फीचर्स काय होते, काय काय गोष्टी इन्क्लूड केल्या, कोणत्या सेक्टरला किती म्हणजे फंड्स प्रोव्हाइड केले किंवा काय त्यांनी प्रोव्हिजन केली, दॅट वी आर गोइंग टू डिस्कस नाउ. So 11th 5-year plan is about the 2007 to 2012, that is a financial year 2007 to 2012, we can say. So it was brought into the consideration by the Prime Minister. Firstly, the Prime Minister Jawaharlal Nehru set up the Planning Commission in 1950. जे 1950 साली जवाहरलाल नेहरूंनी त्यावेळेस पंतप्रधान असताना असा 5-year प्लान बजेट असावं अशी तरी संकल्पना मांडली होती. So the first 5-year plan commenced in 1950-51. It is a financial year 1950-51, and which was brought into the notice of introduced by the Honorable Prime Minister Jawaharlal Nehru. The guiding principles of India's 5-year plans are provided by the basic objectives of growth, employment, then self-reliance and social justice. So what is there in that 5-year plan? So the 5-year plan used to talk about the used to provide the basic objectives of the growth. That is how much growth we are expecting. Used to say that our GDP will grow by 1%, 2%, 3% in the next 5 years plan. We used to say again employment, how much employment we are going to generate, how much people will be get employed in various sectors. Then self-reliance means how much entrepreneurs we are going to create. Social justice, those things are included or mainly focused in the 5-year plan. Okay, so the first 5-year plan was introduced by the Honorable Prime Minister Jawaharlal Nehru ji in 1950. So in the 1950-51, the first plan was commenced. And the highlights we can say for each and every 5-year plan is about the basic objectives of the growth, employment, self-reliance, and the social justice. I will discuss, and under that various heads will be there. Objectives of the growth in the sense growth of the industries, growth of the agriculture, growth of the medical facilities, etc., etc., etc. Employment in various sectors. Then generation of the or creating other we can say on or what we can say entrepreneurs likewise. So the 5-year planning in India so far, if we will discuss about the plans, that is the first 5-year plan was introduced in 1951 to 56. 1951 ते 56 सालापर्यंतचा आपला पहिला 5-year plan होता. And the major objective of that 5-year plan was agricultural development, because we used to say that agriculture is the backbone of the Indian economy. So they focused mostly on the agriculture sector in 1951-56. Means the first our 5-year plan talks mainly about the agriculture development. The GDP targeted in that 5-year plan was about a 2.1, because we are knowing now that 2% was the GDP in the at the eve of the independence. So the targeted GDP at that time was about gross domestic product was about 2.1%, and the achievement was a huge one. That is a 3.5. Though we have targeted the GDP for the 2.1, we reached up to the GDP of a 3.5. This was about the first our 5-year plan in India. Second plan was from 1956 to 61. Now per 5-year the plan is going to have implemented. In the second plan, the basic objectives of the major objectives for the rapid development or the development on which development sector on which they are focused, it's about the industrialization with emphasis on the basic and heavy industries. So the main focus or the main objective of the second 5-year plan is about the industrial development with the basis on a heavy industries, emphasis on a basic and a heavy industries. And GDP targeted, it was about 4.5, and GDP achieved, it was 4.2. Means here the target was so high as compared to the previous one, but they achieved it up to, they have not achieved, but they reached up to that. It is a 4.2. Then next 5-year plan was a third 5-year plan. It was from 1961 to the 1966, and the major objectives of that third 5-year plan was about the self-reliant and the self-generating economy. See here, what now we are focusing, we are starting from the agriculture development. We achieved their development in agriculture. After that, we got the huge raw material. So to develop that, process that raw material, we need to have an industries. So in the second plan, Indian government has concentrated on the rapid industrialization with the emphasis on basic and heavy industries, so that whatever the material we have produced, it will get processed and the finished products can be produced and they can be imported, and the huge amount of the our revenues can be generated from the other countries of the foreign trades, we can say. Next to that, they have undertaken the objective as a self-reliant and the self-generating economy. This is about the third 5-year plan. Third year plan of the Indian economy. Okay, here just a minute, just a minute. Okay, this is about the third plan of the 5 years. The next one is the annual plan. Annual plan, it was from 1966 to 1969, and the achieved GDP was about 3.9. The fourth 5-year plan was from 1969 to the 1974, and the major objectives of that 5-year growth plan was about the growth with the stability and progressive achievement of what? Of self-reliance. Okay, and the GDP targeted in the fourth plan is about the 5.7, and achievement was about 3.2 in the GDP targeted, we can say. And the fifth 5-year plan is from 1974 to the 1979, and the major objective of that is about the Garibi Hatao. Okay, so Garibi Hatao, that was the just a minute, that was the objective, we can say, of the fifth year 5-year plan. Okay, Garibi Hatao, removal of poverty, and a self-reliance, we can say. So that was the motto of the other, that was the objective or major objective of the fifth 5-year plan, we can say. काय होतं ते? गरिबी हटाव, इज रिमूव्हल ऑफ पॉवर्टी अँड अ सेल्फ रिलायन्स. आपण पाठीमागे बघितलं होतं, कुठं गेलं? सेल्फ रिलायन्स इथंही होतं. म्हणजे आपल्याला काय होतं की स्वतःवरती अवलंबून राहायचं, म्हणजे स्वतःचं काहीतरी जनरेट करायचं आणि त्याच्यावरती आपली ग्रोथ व्हायला पाहिजे. फॉर एक्झाम्पल, फार्मर्स दे टू प्रोड्यूस देअर ओन, दे टू प्रोड्यूस, दे टू हॅव एन cows and all those things, animals, we can say. They used to feed them and they used to get the milk as a product, and they used to sell and they used to get the money from that. There is a self-reliance, we can say. So likewise, the objective of that fifth 5-year plan was there. Okay, then the after that, again, that is an annual plan. I'll not go into details of that. Then the sixth 5-year plan, it was from 1980 to the 85. Main objective was poverty alleviation. Okay, alleviation. GDP targeted 5.2 and achieved was a 5.5. Seventh plan, it was from 1985 to the 1990, and major objectives were agricultural development and the employment opportunities. Now we have started towards the employment. Okay, agriculture development and the employment opportunities. Targeted GDP was a 5, achieved is a 5.6. Then annual plan, after two we can say 5-year plans, we used to get an annual plan. Then next was the 8th 5-year plan, 1990 to the 97. It was having the objectives to accelerate the economic growth. And here we want to have an accelerated economic growth. We have to accelerate now, like anything. We have to increase the rate of growth of economy. GDP targeted was a 5.6, and we managed to reach up to the 6.5. Huge achievement, we can say. The 9th 5-year plan was about in 1997 to 2002, and the objectives were growth with a social justice and equality. इथं आपण काय करतो होता की सामाजिक बाजूनी, सर्व बाजूनी, म्हणजे समाजाची सर्व समाजाची ग्रोथ व्हायला पाहिजे आणि इक्वालिटी असायला पाहिजे. Targeted GDP 6.5, achieved is a 5.5. And then after that, the 11th 5-year plan, which we are going to discuss, which was introduced by the Honorable Prime Minister Dr. Manmohan Singh. Okay, so in depth, in detail, we will discuss about the 11th 5-year plan in the next lecture. Okay, thank you for your patience and cooperation. Thank you.